before, and like you said, I probably turned off the camera somehow when I first got it, and I just haven't had time to actually get into the phone to look and check all about it because we've been so busy those few weeks in February and end of January.
Right.
So,
oh.
Yeah, good seeing you, Chris.
Man, I know. What a nightmare this has been, eh?
It's okay, man. There's a lot worse going on out there, so.
Man, I feel bad for making you go on the runaround like this. I was just telling my dad about it earlier today, and he's like, yeah, like I would never be able to do this either. I don't blame him. I'm like, yeah, I get it, man. Technology is rough. It'll put you through the ringer.
Yeah, I know.
But
anyways, I'm glad that we got to finally get to chat and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Absolutely, so, man. I honest to God, man, I was so worried. Like, I came on the 19th over across the bridge, and I was like, oh, man, like, I really hope nothing went wrong with Justin and his brother, because, like, I didn't know anything about what happened to you guys. Like, I didn't talk to you guys with, like, the whole shakedown happening, so, yeah, like run me through exactly what happened, like the night of the 18th and then the morning of the 19th, and exactly how that happened.
We kind of saw it happening, just the last week. We saw it getting, more police, and they're getting more aggressive. And then when they started down at Rideau and Sussex, I was there the night before, and it seemed all fine, and everyone was still in good spirits, and all the truckers were still, no, we're here for a long time. And then the next day, when I showed up, we usually showed up after 7 o'clock at night, and so it was always night times that we're always there. And when we showed up, I think it was Thursday or Friday, they had already been removed all the section. Remember when the horses came in and knocked poor Candace down and everything? They removed all those trucks from Sussex and Rideau. So I missed that. I saw it live on video, but we got there after that happened, and they had pushed all the way to the Chateau Laurier Hotel. So they were down just closer to Elgin Street. And we had a friend, one of the truckers, right by the stage, Klaus Schwab.
Yeah.
And his truck hadn't been touched yet. So that Friday night, we kind of stayed in front of his truck. There was only his truck and one other truck beside him. And then on the other side of the stage, there was Rev and Kevin and the whole line of other trucks that were still there. And all behind them, going west on Wellington, everyone was still sitting there. So my brother and I were just kind of stayed in front of Francois's truck and just kind of watch and make sure no one was messing around with it. And on that Friday night, I kept going back down towards Chateau Laurier to see what's happening there, and the police were just standing there, not doing much. So I kept going back to the trucks, and then all of a sudden, around 11 o'clock at night, my brother and I got surrounded by about 20 police officers. And they asked us if these were our trucks, and we said no, we're just watching them for the truckers. They're not in the truck right now, so you can't talk to them. They're supposed to be back tomorrow, and they said, do you know what time? And they started, kind of not aggressively harassing us, but just kind of kept on with the questions. And I noticed that a lot of people started coming over and kind of surrounding the police. And then a lot of people thought that maybe they were going to arrest us or something. So they started kind of yelling at the police. And then some of the police were backing off. But then we went up to everyone. We're like, no, it's okay. They're just asking us questions. They're not arresting us. Nothing's happening. It's okay. Just everyone remain calm, And the people kind of backed off a bit. And the police said, okay, enough questions. And they just walked back towards Rideau and Sussex. So the people came up to us, everything okay? Yeah, everything's good. And then people kind of hung out in front of those trucks for a while after, making sure that, everything was okay. Just because of the reaction that the police had earlier that day and with, removing all the trucks from Rideau and Sussex and on their way up, and then bringing the horses out, which I thought was crazy. I mean, there was no need for that at all. That was just a show of force, just almost like theatrics. They just wanted. There was no big reason for it. No one was getting out of hand yet. Yeah, people were getting upset because of what was happening. There's been many protests in Canada. And maybe not at that with those numbers, but Trudeau's joined in some of the protests, right?
For sure.
He was kneeling with some of the protesters in one protest, and another he sat down with them eventually, and so because they were blocking major highways, they were blocking railways. There was several protests that were happening just in the past few years. So that's why at the beginning of this one, people thought it was going to go on for a while, a lot longer than it was, because the truckers, they were prepared to be there for a very long time. But like I said, at the final few days, we really saw it's near the end. There was such a big push. They wanted it to end. They did not want it to get to that fourth Saturday, which was going to be huge. It was going to be bigger than any other Saturday, because more and more people were finding out that it wasn't a dangerous place to be. It wasn't a crazy protest where you weren't sure how safe you were. Like there wasn't any cars being burned. There wasn't that mob mentality where you see in a lot of other protests where there's a few bad apples, they turn over a car or light a car on fire, and then 20 people join in, then 100 people will join in, and then 300 people join in, then there's 1,000 people running around the streets breaking windows and looting business. That wasn't the type of people at this. I wouldn't even call it a protest. It was a movement. It was we were all there in good spirits, for the majority of those 3+ weeks, and so it was so different. It was nothing that I've ever seen before, and I don't think anyone that was there can really describe how it was. It was the very first Saturday I showed up with my brother and my buddy. We were driving down there, and we weren't even sure what we were getting into. Like we wanted to show our support for the truckers, and we were behind them for why they were there. So when we got off the Queensway, the highway downtown, they had already blocked off the very first Saturday that I think it was January 29th, and they had blocked off Metcalfe, the way to get into downtown. So we had to find these side streets to kind of get as close as we can to downtown. And on the way up to Wellington on Bank Street, the line of trucks were there, and the horns were honking, and the people were just like in such great moods, waving flags and cheering and everything. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So we continued walking. By the time we got to Wellington, it was insane. Like, hair on my arm was just raising, like, what the heck is going on? This is amazing.
Yeah.
We walked up to Parliament Hill, to the Eternal Flame, and we just were standing there looking around, like in awe of everyone was just in a great mood, and freedom and just walking around, smiling faces, and just everyone kind of looking at everyone, everyone was just checking everyone out, like, I can't believe there's this many people. I can't believe that this is actually happening. The amount of trucks that showed up was awesome. And we just kept walking around everywhere. We started to meet the truckers, go up to them and say, thanks for coming. And just started talking to anyone that we could on the street. Hey, man, I'm glad that you're here, right on. And just getting little bits of stories about people. And never once were people afraid to actually talk to you, or don't film me if you had your camera out and you just wanted to film what was going on. No one was kind of putting their head down or telling you not to film them. It was accepting. Everyone was accepting other people to kind of come up to them and introduce yourself and just high-fiving each other, calling each other brother, sister. It became a family thing weeks into it, like you just had that feeling that you just had to be there every day. So my brother and I, we just showed up every day since the very first Saturday. We never missed a day. And get back to the very end again. At that, we stayed till 2:00 in the morning. That Friday night, the last Friday night, and we stood in front of the trucks. those two trucks that stood alone on the east side of the stage on Wellington and Metcalfe. And my cousin had showed up, and he says, "Don't worry, if you guys are tired, you want to go sleep, I'll stay here." I was like, "Great." So we took off, and he called us, I guess it was around noon, close to noon. And he said, "Guys, they already moved up. They're at the trucks. They just broke the window of Francois' truck." I was like, "No!" Like all that time, we just thought we knew it was going to happen, but we didn't know it would be that early. We figured it was going to be later on the day or something. So we ended up going there, but it was too late. By the time we got there, it was already pushed down Wellington, closer to Bank Street, Kent. And they moved fast. They knew what they were doing. Trudeau, I'm sure, was scared. He was scared, not just of the truckers, but on the people whose agenda this really is, and the pressure he was feeling, I'm sure, him and Chrystia Freeland, our Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister, I'm sure they were both terrified about consequences if they didn't remove all the truckers and this protest, because it wasn't just an Ottawa thing, it wasn't just a Canada thing, this was worldwide. Everyone around the world had their eyes on Ottawa and the truckers and the convoy, and what we were doing, we're asking for freedom. We weren't asking for more money on our jobs or stuff like that. We were asking for freedom. Everyone saw how much government control we've had, not just with COVID, but even before COVID. People saw Canada changing and fast. And the people that don't know why, they're scared, they're confused, but a lot of us know why. We're kind of awake. We're listening to them because they're telling us everything that they're doing. Like I mentioned the first interview that you had, that Justin Trudeau, after he got elected in 2015, he said that Canada will be the first post-national state in the world. Now, right there, that tells you we're not going to be a nation anymore. We're not going to be a country. We're going to be a state in the world. Their new world order. We are going to be the first, and that's the Great Reset, 2022. Canada will be the first, and it's going to happen this year if they get away with it. We will be the first to turn from a country into a state in the new world order, and then all other countries out there are going to follow. So no wonder so many eyes were on us. There's a lot of people around the world that are aware of what's happening. There's an agenda. It's been going on for a few decades now, and for a very long time, and people have been following it. Not everyone, but there's pockets around the world that have always been following this since it started. And it's not about uncovering secret documents or finding out things that you shouldn't have been finding out. They told us right from day one. They told us what's going to happen. That they're changing this world. It's a worldwide agenda, not just North America, not just the Commonwealth countries. It's happening all over the world. So more and more people everywhere are waking up, and the more they're listening to these leaders speak, the more they're waking up, because they're, like I said, they're telling us what's happening. In 1990, I think I told you 1991 in the first interview, because it's been so long since it was, but that's the year I woke up with my brother, because George Bush Sr., George H.W. Bush, not George W. Bush, his son, when George Bush Sr. was the president between 89 and 93, right before Bill Clinton, there was a war going on, the Gulf War, with Iraq and Kuwait. Saddam was going to invade Kuwait. And anyway, during that, before the fighting actually started, they announced that they were going to invade Iraq in August 1990. Just a few short months later, in September, that's when he made that international speech. I remember seeing it here in Canada, that there was going to be a new world order. One world government, one world religion, one world bank, and it's going to be one world currency, and it's going to be digital. And I think we've all seen that happening over the past few decades, more and more digital. They're trying to get rid of the paper currency and come up with digital, which I think is very scary. But the day he announced that in September, get this, was, anyone could look this up, September 11th, 1990. So 11 years before the September 11th that we all know about. Crazy, eh? Like September 11th, 11 years later was the Twin Towers coming down. But this is when he announced the New World Order. And for the American president, you know, America was such a, well, was the strongest country out there, you know, economy and the military and everything. At 1990, they were like the force out. So for him to be talking about one world government, one world currency, what's happening to the United States, what's going to happen to Canada, you know, a lot of thoughts were going through our heads. So we started talking to people, and no one really paid attention to that speech, right? And a lot of people didn't even hear it. So we were kind of like, are you crazy? That would never happen. You know, I didn't see that on the news. Like, that's what we were getting from people when we were telling them, hey, did you hear about George Bush Sr. talking about the New World Order? And we're like, what are you talking about? So 2 years after that, okay, going back to September 11th, another really weird thing is, if you go on September 11th, did you know that there is 111 days left till the end of the year? That's just weird. Like 111, 11, all these 11s, you know, it's like people, they want to read more into it and numbers or whatever. There's a lot of things to read about that too. But anyways, 1992, 2 years after he talked about the New World Order, United Nations had Earth Summit Day. Okay, it was they talked about the Agenda 21. This went from the word New World Order, and then they actually titled it Agenda 21. It's a United Nations agenda. The 21 is for the 21st century, and it's also been called lately Agenda 2030 because that's the end date, 2030. Everything is going to be in place for this agenda by the year 2030. So we have less than 8 years to go. And that's why everyone's seeing such a push now of what's happening, and everything's being sped up. In the 90s, you never really noticed a lot of things going on because it was the 90s, you know, we're all distracted. No one was paying attention to anything about worldwide, you know, except for that Persian Gulf War and other wars, you know, but the way that they were planning on changing the whole world, no one was really talking about that because they were so, they're in their comfort zones, right? They go to work. We're busy. We're distracted. You know, we're divided. I started seeing that more and more in the 90s. The more the governments and the media were dividing the people, right? And you see that huge nowadays, whether it's race, you know, skin color, language. Here in Canada, French, English. You know, like that's been going on a long time, but more and more division has been going on. Sexual preference, gender. Anything that they could get to divide the people, we've been seeing it big time lately. And that's to prevent the people from uniting and getting together and discussing things. And we've seen a lot of that even during COVID. The restrictions, the mandates and stuff like that is to prevent people from getting together and discussing things. You know, the masks, you know, a lot of people say, oh, they're muzzles, you know, like you can look at it that way too, you know, like prevent people from actually having, you know, you try and have a conversation with a mask on. It's really tough. People are constantly pulling their masks, you know, and sorry, what was that? What were you saying? You know, I can't hear you with the mask on, you know. So I think that's why a lot of people are calling them muzzles, you know, to prevent discussion. But at the convoy on Wellington, man, you saw no masks. You know, people had no fear of coming up to another person and starting a conversation. You know, you saw hugs, you saw high fives, you saw people huddled together. And after everything was done, you still haven't seen the hospitals, you know, flowing with COVID patients, you know, and ICU beds are totally fine. You're not hearing all that. Where are all the dead people if there's such a crazy virus? And I'm not saying there wasn't a virus. Of course there was a virus, but I'm saying they blew it out of proportion. They really did a lot of damage to all of us with the restrictions and everything. So yes, that was one of the main reasons why the truckers and the whole convoy happened. But the freedom part, it wasn't just being free from COVID restrictions, it's being free from government control. And the more that you went around and you talked to these truckers, more you heard, yeah, man, it's all about government control, and it was happening even before COVID started. And so people at that convoy were awake. It was awesome to see because it was kind of a lonely feeling of thinking a certain way and can't really talk to people because they would look at you as kind of crazy, especially in the 90s, early 2000s. No one wanted to hear that, It's like nowadays you can go up to even, people on the left or right and they will kind of say, yeah, things are starting to make sense now. It's not a right versus left thing. It's not a French versus English. It's not, black versus white or anything. It's equal. We all need to unite and forget about the divisions and just be on the same mind frame. We all have to get the right information, right? And the news isn't doing that. The media is not helping us, and the government's not helping us. All they're doing is basically name calling. And when you hear that, when you hear a media or a government start calling names, you know right away what they're doing. They're just dividing the people. There's no reason for any media or government to start calling their citizens names, racist and this and this. Hey, let's have a discussion, And if this great reset or this Agenda 21 that they're pushing on us, if it was so great, why haven't they been informing us about it on a regular basis? Why haven't we been watching it on 6 o'clock news or 11 o'clock news or the people that actually watch the mainstream media still? How come they are not informed by these media, CBC, CTV, Global, whatever, in Canada or even in the United States, because it's worldwide? How come Fox and CNN and ABC, NBC, MSNBC, whatever, how come they're not discussing it on a regular basis? How come they're not kind of relaxing everyone? They said, no, it's not a conspiracy theory, it's a good thing that's happening, and then just explain everything. Okay, then tell us it's a good thing and explain why it's going to be a good thing for all of us. I don't think it's going to be a good thing at all. And the more that people research this stuff, they're saying, oh, this is actually pretty scary. We've lived our lives a certain way for forever, and now all of a sudden, these governments have this agenda, and they're going to turn the whole world upside down and one world government. So what does that mean? We're going to have a one world dictator? Because usually when there's someone who's in charge of something that big, there has to be one person, and I'm sure it's going to be a dictator. He's going to make it seem all nice and everything at the beginning, but there's always been talk about, the person. There is going to be someone stepping up and kind of changing the world, and people are all going to fall for it. And at the end, they're going to realize they've been following the wrong person. Whether you read the Bible or just conspiracy theories or that are turning into facts now, or it's just always been talked about, like, okay, this new world order, someone is going to be in charge. And again, I think it's going to be a puppet, just like a lot of these world leaders out there, they're puppets. There's a agenda going on, but it's not designed by these world leaders. These are just governments of the day, and they just kind of be there and follow the agenda. And the pressure's on them to do whatever they're being told. So they basically have to do it, whether they like it or not. You see a lot of these big corporations, big government, big media, big tech, big pharma. It's all the big guys that are in it together. And all of us, it doesn't matter if we consider ourselves rich, middle class, poor, whatever. We're all in it together. And it's going to be a fight, the people versus this agenda and who's involved in this agenda. It's the very powerful, rich people that are doing this, and we'll see what happens. If the people unite, we'll win. There's no way that they can divide us if we're all awake. It's as soon as you start waking up, there's no going back to sleep. Let's put it this way: there's going to be one world government, one dictator, and supposedly this guy's going to be, like I said, accepted by everyone, or a lot of people that don't really know better. and they're going, and I'm pretty sure we've already seen this person's face before. I have a feeling that this person has been involved in politics or something before, and they're going to reintroduce them as the world leader. So it's going to be very interesting times happening, especially this year, especially to Canada, because we, like Trudeau said, we are going to be the first to change from a country to a nation. So I hope that all eyes are still on Canada, and we're really watching, especially Canadians are really watching what our government is doing. Any changes, any bills being trying to slipped in. I know that during the Ukraine-Russia conflict that's going on, I'm pretty sure the Liberals are trying to pass in Bill C-11, which used to be called Bill C-10, and that's the Online Streaming Act, trying to shut down the people like you trying to get the truth out, right? And they'll call a lot of truths misinformation, and then just fully shut them down. So we're not going to get the truth out if that ever happens, if they pass this bill. So that's one thing that I think Canadians should be trying to pay attention about. And there's also the another bill, let's see, 223. It was a universal basic income. So basically ushering in socialism. It's going to be a very, very different country. And it's not, but like they say, it's not going to be a country. It's going to be a state, a bloc state. Like I call them all gray states in the world, because right now we have a world full of countries and colorful countries, different languages, different cultures, different foods, different everything. Every country you go to is different, right? Now in 2015, when Trudeau said Canada will be the first post-national state in the world, right before that, I'm pretty sure it's the same sentence. He said that Canada does not have a core identity. To me, that is a major slap in the face for any Canadian, whether you've been here from day one or you just got here as a refugee or immigrant yesterday or last week. Canada is known internationally, first of all, Canadians are known internationally as good people. We're polite, we're friendly, we're accepting, and we've always been accepting, right? From the Indigenous people that were here first, they accepted us into this country, and it was basically our governments that ended up screwing them over. And look, we're at 2022 right now, and a lot of them still don't have clean drinking water, so they're continually being screwed over. And I don't even like calling them Indigenous, because it's kind of lumping them all in one group, like First Nations, Métis, Inuit. They all have different. I like to go by their original names, rather than just clumping them. I think that was a political thing to clump them all as Indigenous. Take away their identity, right? I think all of our identities are being taken away. As Canadians and as Mohawks and whatever band you're from, or whatever reserve you're from, they're just clumping everyone together, and I think that's what they're going to do with the world, just lump everyone together, states in the world, gray states in the world, no more cultures, no more, languages. It's all going to be one language too. It's crazy, and it's not a conspiracy theory that some people are talking about, because a lot of people that are saying that, they haven't done the research. So as soon as they start doing the research, they'll know it's not a conspiracy theory, it's the actual fact. There's so many dates that you can look up. Like I said, 1990, September 11th, everyone should look up. What did George Bush say? New World Order. That's not a conspiracy theory. Then 1992, the Earth Summit, United Nations, they named it Agenda 21. There's other dates that I'll give you right now, so people can look up whenever. 2001, okay, a few months before 9/11 happened, in June 22nd, 23rd, there was this thing called Dark Winter. Now, some people might have heard Joe Biden recently. Most recent I've heard him say it was in December. And other world leaders were talking about the Dark Winter. They've talked about it for a few years now, and they first mentioned it in 2001. If people want to do some research, check out June 22nd, June 23rd, 2001, The Dark Winter. You'll find out what all that. I don't want to go all into that. I just want to give you dates where people can kind of do their own research, right? Don't believe the guys on YouTube or whatever. Do your own research. You know, if you hear something and it sounds interesting, do some research. It doesn't take much. You know, like I said, everything is out there. Everything that I'm going to tell you is already out there. It's just people were too distracted, too busy in their own lives, you know, to hear about that. We're too divided. Where if someone on the other side politically mentions it, oh, well, it's just a conspiracy theory because I don't believe anything the right says or anything the left says, you know. So they've divided us completely. So we're not believing each other and we're not uniting. Another date, 2005, January 14th, Atlantic Storm Exercise. January 14th, 2005. Look it up. Again in 2015, when just a few months after Trudeau got elected for the first time, he said Canada does not have a core identity, therefore Canada will be the first post-national state in the world. So he basically is downplaying who we are as Canadians, you know. And if you travel the world, you go to other countries and you say, I'm from Canada, you always get a positive response from people. You're Canadian, you guys are awesome, you guys are funny, you guys can party, you guys are so nice, I love Canadians, you know, you hear that all the time, you know. Everywhere that I've been outside of Canada, I've always heard that. Or I met this guy, Mike, or I met this girl, Jill, whatever, you know, like, they're awesome people, you guys are so cool, man, I want to come to Canada, I want to be Canadian. I always hear that too. So it's proud to be Canadian, you know. We're so different than every other country out there. There's good people everywhere in the world, don't get me wrong, but as Canada as a whole, you know, Canadians as a whole, we're known as good people. You know, we live in a cold climate country, but we have warm hearts. We're good people. We help each other, you know, and we really saw that during the convoy up on Wellington and the side streets, where it was a community. You know, people helping people. It's hey, you know, people were offering us food just walking down the street. Hey, man, you want a burrito? Hey, can I get you a food? You know, it's pretty cool. That, man, this is awesome. This is the way it should be, you know, in societies, you know, that people helping people. And it's kind of funny that we're so against communism, you know, or at least the communism that's out there played in the world. But what I saw there, if you look at the actual definition of communism, it's about community, right? People helping people. Just the communism that's going on in like China and Russia and Cuba, you have a dictator, and then the people are at the bottom. The dictator and the very super wealthy people are on top, and everyone else has been pushed down to the bottom. And that's communism to them. But communism, it's the real way. It's supposed to be flipped, where the people are on top and the dictator's on the bottom. He's just supposed to manage the money and make sure that you got good health care, and you got good defense, and you got good education and roads, you know. And that's not what we're seeing even here in Canada. You know, there's we see a lot of bad roads. Look at our healthcare. I mean, it's 2022 and we're still complaining about ICU beds, that we don't have enough, especially a big pandemic that we knew was coming. You know, Bill Gates talked about it in 2015, described this virus to a T, except didn't name it COVID or Corona. He said, this is coming soon. Be prepared, you know, said how it's going to spread and however many people are going to die, and we have to be prepared for this. But then 3 years later, in 2018, he talked about population control. We're almost at 8 billion. We need to go down to like 2 or 3 billion. What is this guy talking about? So if you read more into it, it's not scary. It's once you have the information, you can't be afraid of things anymore. You just understand more, right? So I encourage everyone just to do their own research, you know, to find out what's really happening. I know we're all stuck in our comfort zones, and we have busy days, you know, especially if we have families. We wake up, it's 24 hours in a day. We all have the same amount of hours, but, you know, we kind of live different lives where we all kind of sleep for about a third of the day, you know, and then another third we go to work or go to school, most of us anyways. So we're only left with a third to eat 3 meals, to transport ourselves, you know, to work or school or whatever, do do some grocery shopping. You know, you got to wake up in the morning, get ready for your day. Anyways, that takes time. So there's a lot of things that eat up your day, and you're not left with much time to actually do real research about what's going on. You know, and you got to spend time with your family too and your loved ones, and then you need some time for a little bit of entertainment, right? So you watch your show or whatever, or do whatever. But I think a lot of people aren't doing enough research and finding out what's really happening, and there's going to be a day where they're going to end up being in total shock. And what the heck has happened? You know, this all of a sudden just happened. No, it all of a sudden didn't just happen. It's been happening for decades, but it's been happening slowly, and now it's getting faster and faster, and that's why you see a lot more people waking up and a lot more people standing up. You know, look what the truckers did. It was perfect what they did. You know, how do you do a protest? You put the trucks in the street. You know, you put the people in the street, and the people have to get home or they'll get pushed out by the police like they did. But to put the trucks in the street, it's a lot harder. And we saw that they were moved eventually, but it was just by force, unnecessary force for such a peaceful protest. You know, and you and I were there, you know, for weeks, and we saw it. And a lot of people that watched the streamers like yourself saw it. But there was a lot of people that were stuck at home watching the mainstream media, and they kept seeing that Nazi flag, you know, and then the talk about the Nazi flag were from the beginning right till the end. The media discussed it, our governments discussed it. They even talked about it in the House of Commons, you know, like, and to call us racist and misogynist, it was that right there tells you they're scared. They don't want the people to know the truth. It's name calling. It's if they really wanted to portray us as Nazi supporters, why didn't they actually go up to the guy with the Nazi flag instead of just taking his picture and ask him why was he holding the Nazi flag? Get the truth out, right? Why not go up to the person that was interviewing the guy and say, hey, can I have that interview? Can I take a look at that interview? Or why hasn't the interview been put out, you know, publicly? They don't want you to know the truth. The guy was supposedly from Eastern Europe, and he was there with the Nazi flag telling people that this country is going to be just like the Nazis if it continues to go the way Trudeau is kind of pushing it, you know, with the control and the division and, you know, the vaccinated versus unvaccinated. And it was looking pretty scary, like a lot of similarities from the way Hitler was running things back in Germany back in the 30s and 40s. So that's what his comparison was. Of what he was not supporting the Nazis. He was kind of, maybe it was the wrong thing to do was to bring that flag first of all without everyone knowing what it was all about. But it wasn't what people thought, and they used that against us for weeks, right? The other thing was the Confederate flag. The guy holding that, he had a Halloween mask on. We didn't even know who the guy was, even when he was confronted by the truckers and asked to leave and said, that's not what we're about, you know, you're gonna have to put the flag away or leave. And the guy kept his mask on the whole time. Like, who knew who it was? It could have been Trudeau for all we knew. You know, all the costumes this guy likes to wear, he could have showed up and did that. I'm not saying it was, but I'm just, you know, like, we never knew who it was. The Terry Fox statue, someone put an upside down flag on him and put a sign in front, you know, like, people just got a little carried away, and it wasn't anything against Terry Fox. It was kind of disrespectful, I guess, to do that to the statue because he's such an icon, but it wasn't really against anything that we all support, you know. It wasn't. And I feel bad for Terry Fox, you know, for everything that he did. And here we are still. I know more people with cancer nowadays than I did back then when he ran across Canada. And that's pretty sad. That with all the money that he's raised and that we've all raised and we've all put into the Cancer Society, that the cure is still not out there. Like, that's pretty sad. Yeah, you know, for a country like this and the United States and other countries that are pouring billions and billions and billions of money into the Cancer Society, and we still haven't found a cure. You know, I guess treatments make a lot more money than cures. You know,
that's exactly it. Yeah.
So it's just sad world, and we don't have to change it into the Great Reset and Agenda 21 to make it a better world. We just need to start treating each other better, and almost like having the little world that we were in on Wellington, if that could be right across Canada, like it doesn't matter what side politically you're on, because I've met people that were on the left there. So it wasn't a right-wing thing, it wasn't a left-wing thing. There was vaccinated people there, there were unvaccinated people there, like a lot of the people that I talked to had 2 shots already, and they just didn't want to go for another because they were starting to feel a little different, from what some people were saying. And just the more research they were doing, okay, how many more do we have to do? Is this going to be 3rd shot, 4th shot, 5th shot, and how often? It seemed to be every 3-4 months that they were going to have to do it. And for people that I know that took care of themselves for a very long time, health-wise, they ate good, they worked out, their body is their temple. They took good care of themselves, so they built up their immune system. So they felt like, well, why does everyone need to get this shot? If we have a strong immune system, why can't we let our bodies fight this virus like we've done for many, many times, over the years? So it's a lot of people were starting to question that, and which is a great thing. I think we should all question everything, Like I mentioned in the first interview that we had, that we don't question things enough, because we've been conditioned not to, like from a very young age. Even our parents were kind of conditioned not to answer every question that we asked as kids. The kids, they're like sponges. They ask questions because they want, to learn as much as they can. And even if the questions are kind of ridiculous sometimes for a kid to ask, it doesn't matter. Answer your kid's questions. The more that you're answering the kid's questions, the more information that he has. So he doesn't have to continually ask the same questions over and over, because he was never getting the answers in the first place. You go to school, you can't question your teachers. All the way through university, you can't question your teachers. You're wasting time. There's a lot of kids in your class. You can't slow down the course. That the teacher, they're just paid to teach the courses, right? They're not making stuff up, and they want to teach things their own way. I mean, people have different styles of teaching, but they're all pushed to teach the same thing so we all have the same information in public schools and at the same speed. So it doesn't matter if you're a quick learner or a slower learner, you're getting it at the same speed. So a lot of people are getting left behind, and then a lot of people are getting slowed down because they're ahead of everyone else, but they need to get slowed down. I know there's classes for advanced students, and there's classes for students that aren't getting taught as quickly as others. But there needs to be a way where school systems need to focus on the strengths of the students, the talents, we should all focus on that. So then when we go out and find a job, we've been focused on something that we want to do, not kind of we're pushed into, and then we end up working for 20, 30, 40 years of our life, and we're not happy. There's a lot of people that are in their jobs that just aren't happy with what they're doing. So if we can focus more on people's strengths and what they're good at, then when they actually become an employee or a business owner or whatever, then they'll excel at whatever they're doing, and this will be such a better world if everyone's happy doing their jobs rather than I'm just doing it for the paycheck, So they're changing the world fast, and they're pushing everyone down. They're not helping everyone up, they're pushing everyone down, and it's easier to control people when they're all on the bottom rather than kind of, lifting everyone up and trying to help it. And that's like in anything, like a relationship, if you have someone up here and they meet someone and they're kind of down here, and this person really wants to help this person, get up to their same level. But it's a lot harder to pick someone up than it is for this person to drag the other person down, especially when this person doesn't want to really get it. He might have his hand up saying, kind of help me. And the girl's like, yeah, I want to help you, but you have to help yourself too, right? If you're just allowing the person to kind of pull you up. It's a lot harder to do than if the person down here has his feet down and starts lifting himself up, helping the other person. So I've seen that in so many relationships, and I know these poor girls that try so hard and they're in love with this guy, and they just want to help them and be a better person and motivate them and get them a good job and, you know, help them out as much as they can. But it's so hard because the guy usually is, they get in their comfort zones and they play their video games and there's no motivation, right? They're just kind of sucked and then they're just pulling the girl who's got major intelligence and talents and she's all, you know, a go-getter and then it just kind of sucks it out of her. And then you have two people down here, right? And it seems to be society's been like that for quite a while now, where we're not helping each other up. We're just kind of pulling each other down. Someone's not doing well, the other person's trying, no, this person, it's too much dead weight, so the other person gets pulled down. And that's what they're doing to us. It's easier for all of us just to be down at the bottom rather than be better, you know, to have better jobs, better education, better relationships. So it's anyways, I'll get back to those dates that I was giving you in 2018, in May of 2018, May 15th in 2018, Clade X. Okay, another thing to check is Clade X. CLADE X. Another thing to check out. Also in 2019, right before all this started, October 18th, 2019, Event 201. You'll check that out and you'll see a lot of things very interesting there. So check out those days too. Everyone should do their own research, check them out, and you'll learn a lot about what's actually happening in the world. It's like I said, these aren't top secret documents or anything. It's what you can Google it, you know. And so check it out. Everyone should check it out and learn a hell of a lot more. And talking about Trudeau and things that came out that we're not discussing. I mean, in 2019, right before the 2019 election, Trudeau had given $600 million to select media, corporate media, the mainstream media. So he paid this money as subsidies, tax credits and stuff to CBC, CTV, global select media. I think there was like 7 or 8 that got it. So all the little guys got no money, got no help, right? And in 2021, before the next election, that surprise election that he had, he gave an extra $60 million, and he called it emergency relief. So these select media will get timely info that they need from their government. So it's I know in CBC has been getting $1.1 or $1.2 billion a year from Canadian taxpayers. Recently, he upped that, I think, up to 1.6. And then, I think in early January of this year, 2022, he pledged $400 million to the CBC. So you wonder why we're not getting all this information from our mainstream media about what's going on out there. That's exactly why. There's an agenda. They don't want it to be publicized, you know, for the public to know, and they're trying to keep it as quiet as possible and keep us focused on other stuff. If you watch a typical news program, an hour news, whether it's 6 o'clock or 11 o'clock, you know, mainstream media, and you watch for an hour, what are you really getting out of that hour? Are you getting really important information, you know, that we all need to know that's going to help us with our lives? No, it's a bunch of distractions, you know. It's first of all, it's not even an hour, okay? It's down to 45 minutes when you're not counting the commercials.
Commercials.
So to me, there's 5 important things that everyone should be looking for on the news, and the news should be telling them. And the first thing is what's going on in your communities. The second is what's going on in your cities. The third is what's going on in your provinces or your states. The fourth is what's going on in your country, and the fifth is what's going on in the rest of the world. So if they were just focusing on those 5 things, that would only, and 45 minutes, that would only be 9 minutes for each subject. That's not enough time for all of us to have important information about what's going on in all those 5 things. But they don't just focus on those 5 things, right? They tell us about the weather. They spend 5-6 minutes talking about the weather. Sports. You can find sports on any. There's so many different sports channels out there. There's a weather channel you can turn on. You don't need to go to the news to find out these things. Fashion. Plenty of fashion programs. We don't need that fashion to hear about fashion on the news. And entertainment. There shouldn't be any entertainment on the news. News should be just important information, factual information, the truth about what's going on in your community, your city, your province, your country, and the rest of the world. That's pretty much all the people really want from the news, but that's not what we're getting. It's distraction, little cute stories, mostly opinions, a lot of opinions, especially these big corporate media stations are constantly bombarding us with opinions, who to vote for, who to hate, dividing us constantly. And like I said, the distractions, talking about stuff that really is not newsworthy, that's distracting. People turn on the TV, the news, 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and you're expecting important information and we actually used to get important information from the news. And there was no opinion back in the day. You're too young to know who Walter Cronkite is, but this guy, he had a very deep monotone voice, but he would never voice his opinion. Recently I just found out that he was on the far left politically, but we had no idea because he would never talk about it on the news. He would just tell you the news, facts, and that's what the news. So as a kid, I thought the news was so boring, even though they were talking about important things. It was boring. As a kid, you want entertainment, right? But it's almost like they're treating us like kids nowadays because they're just trying to entertain us. Yeah. They're trying to make us laugh. They're trying to make us scared. And the more scared that we are, it's good for them because that means people are afraid they're going to turn on the news, find out what's next. So we need to know. We have to be more calm because we're getting information. But it's not happening because we're not getting the right information. It's scare tactic, fear. And like I said, they just distract us with stuff that's not even important. So we can't rely on mainstream media for getting the important information. And people like yourself, that were going up and down Wellington and showing the truth. And I know most of the people around the world were getting the truth from that. So from you guys, they weren't getting it from CTV and all these other medias. They were just focusing on Nazi flags and stuff like that. So it was great to see people like you walking around. I'm glad you came and approached me when you did. So it was awesome meeting you, and I'm glad we kept in contact after that all happened. So we just my contact, my friends list grew huge since those 3 weeks. I've kept in contact with a lot of people and really good people, people that care not just about each other but care about this country. And so I think more and more of us are starting to wake up and realizing that we need to start caring about each other and get out of our comfort zones and stop watching the mainstream media because they're not there to help us. They're there to distract us. They're there to push an agenda that's most of us are aware of now. And we just need to stay united, stop letting them divide us. And just doesn't matter about skin color and religion and language. There's so many things that we could all unite, with, and especially nowadays, especially as Canadians, when we see that there's a good chance that we might not be considered Canadians in the next year or two. You know, like they could make a big push, and if people are too afraid to stand up and do something about it, they could do it easily because they have the power right now. But who really has the power? The people have the power. We just don't realize. We don't all realize that. As soon as we're all on the same page with all the same information, there's nothing going to stop us. You know, that's what we need. So we're all on the same page. All have the same information. We're everywhere now because the media's telling us one thing, and then we're hearing truths from streamers, but not everyone's watching the streamers like you. You know, so. When I go around, I just tell people, man, do your research. Here's some dates. Here's some things to check out. You know, I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you everything. Do it. You know, we're smart people. You know, Canadians are smart, and people around the world are smart. And we just need to start using our brains more, because sometimes we're kind of lulled to sleep, you know, and just almost like zombies walking around, you know. And we didn't see any zombies on Wellington for those 3+ weeks. People were like lively, and they were like the best moods that I've seen, you know, and so much eye contact. That was one thing I noticed most than anything there was eye contact. Everyone's just looking at each other, you know. No one's got their head down on their phone or just walking with their head down. Or everyone's confident. Everyone was so, like I said, smiling, high-fiving, in great mood, because we're all on the same page. You know, we're all awake. We all know what's happening, and the conversations were coming easy because we were all on the same page, and we all knew what was important to talk about. We all wanted to introduce ourselves to each other. You know, I saw that so much. That's how I met so many people. Like, unbelievable amounts of people I met in those 3+ weeks. Like, I haven't met that many people in probably all of last year. You know, just you have busy lives. You know, so your social circles are pretty small, but if you allow them to, right? If you're going to focus on just the little things, right? But as soon as people start opening their eyes, they're going to realize there's bigger things out there for us to pay attention to. And don't be afraid to talk to other people. And there's always going to be haters, and there's always going to be people that try and shut you up and call you names to stop conversations, you know. And I think that's where a lot of these name-calling things are coming from, you know, racist and everything like that. Is stop the conversation. Instead of having a conversation about skin color or anything, no, they have to stop and squash it, you know. If you want to have a conversation about politics, no, you're a right-winger, you're a left-winger, no one wants to talk to it.
Right.
There's no more discussions anymore. So that's something that we've been missing for a very long time, and we've all been kind of pushed in our homes, you know. Like, the best way to describe, or the closest thing that I could describe what we saw in Wellington and in Ottawa, downtown Ottawa, was growing up when I grew up in the 70s and 80s, because it seemed like where I grew up in my neighborhood, you felt this sense of community. Everyone kind of knew each other. The kids knew each other. The parents knew each other. Everyone's parents knew who you were. You know, very hard to get away with stuff. You know, you wanted to do bad things as a kid. You think you're safe, but all of a sudden, you know, Justin, are you supposed to be doing that? And you're looking around like, who the heck said that? And then some mom's hanging out their window and said, would your mom want you to be doing that? And you're like, well, yeah, you couldn't get away. You know, everyone's looking out for everyone. So that's how we felt, you know, downtown. Everyone was looking at, hey, are you hungry? Hey, this, you know, like someone to talk to, someone to just high five, and just we didn't. Back in the 70s and 80s, we felt that. Right? So if you wanted to find out where all your friends were, you look down the road and you see where all the bicycles all the bicycles are in the front of Tommy's house. Okay, that's where everyone is, you know, like just
exactly.
Everyone's in the park, you know, playing whatever, baseball, football, whatever. You know, everyone's hanging out together. You know, you don't see that. You drive by a park these summers, these days, there's hardly anyone in the parks, you know. It's like you see a lot of new immigrants, because they're taking that from the country, bringing it here, like the community. You know, there's a lot of immigrants that still like getting together and having picnics and parks and everything. You don't see that with Canadians, you know, that have been here for a very long time. They're more kind of in their homes, you know, on their computers, on their on their phones, on playing video games, doing whatever. We've been divided, and I think that's the most important thing is to start uniting each other again. And that way everyone's going to feel better, feel like you're not so alone, and easier just to pick up a phone and call someone or just go out and see someone instead of just trying to figure things out on your own. And then, and easier to talk about things rather than being shut down and being called names and just divided, right? So it's very, this agenda, they've worked very hard to divide it on purpose, right? And it's all part of this agenda. Everything that you see is happening is part of the agenda. This just didn't happen during COVID. This agenda has been happening for decades. So they've been working a very long time, even spending billions a year just on the television program. You try talking to a little kid who's focused on their television program. Hey, it's supper time or whatever. Hey, hello. You almost have to walk in front of the kid while he's watching the phone. And if you turn off the TV, the kid's going insane, like, turn it off. Or they're playing video games and you stop the video. Oh my God, they lose their mind. Like, we have to unplug these kids from that and get them back into society and where they're having friends, they're communicating, we're asking questions, they're trying to figure things out, And like I said, in school, they don't teach you stuff like that. They don't teach people how to be free thinkers. It's like, here's the agenda, here's the program that you're doing, this repeat, this repetition. And then you, as a kid, you get a gold star, right? If you're doing right, if you did all the repetition properly. And then, or you get a passing grade, or you passed your grade, or you get a paycheck, when you finally become, it's always the authority, rewarding you for being a kid, like doing good in school or doing a good job in your profession. You get a paycheck, you get to continue working there, or you get a raise. It's never about helping each other out and pushing each other up. It's just here's your reward for doing it. Okay, don't ask any questions. Just here's your paycheck and show up tomorrow and then we're just programmed, right? We need to unprogram ourselves and start thinking differently. And that's the hardest thing for a lot of people that are still what I call asleep still, is just being unprogrammed, like unplugging yourself from the system and start questioning things that you've never questioned before, especially nowadays, because so many things nowadays are questionable. Nothing makes sense, especially with COVID. All these things that they're telling us to do don't make sense, really. Like we're checking the science, but what science is this? It's more political science than medical science.
Right.
So we start having to think for ourselves and listen to other people. Why are these people getting shut down? Why are these doctors that are trying to speak out about things, why are they being silenced? Why can't we hear both sides, and use some critical thinking for ourselves and figure out, okay, well, this doesn't seem right, but this guy seems to make sense. Why aren't we listening to this guy more? Why do we keep listening to Dr. Tam or Fauci or these people, these government health officials, right? Don't forget, they used to be doctors, but now they're government health officials. They've been programmed, right? And they've been told exactly what they can tell the public. They can't just go off script, right? And say what they want to tell us. They have to tell us what their government wants them. And since these governments are all part of an agenda, we're all getting the same crap from these people, and that's why none of it makes sense. And all their predictions have been wrong, like from day one. Remember March 2020, they said, don't worry, 2 weeks, flatten the curve.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the longest 2 weeks ever. This is crazy how long this has been going on. And it doesn't seem like they really wanted it to end, right? And that was part of the agenda. Keep it going. We have them under control. We can do whatever we want. And that's why the truckers finally said enough is enough. They jumped in their truck, they came down here, and they made a statement, not just across Canada, but worldwide. So like I said, all eyes are on Canada. Still, these convoys are still going on right now. They haven't stopped. Just because Ottawa stopped doesn't mean these convoys are going on. And I'm not just talking about Canada. Like, you see it right across Canada, all the major cities, they've had these protests, and convoys and people getting out of their comfort zones. Like, and during winter, that's the most impressive thing, like some of those days that we were there were really cold days, real cold nights. And that third Saturday, like, it was like the biggest Saturday, and the weather was so cold. So it would have been a perfect reason for people to stay home. Honey, it's cold out, let's not go tonight, But these people, they came out. It was freezing. They came out, they bundled up, and they held their flag. They had smiles. It was minus, 15, minus 20, and they were still having a good time because it was for a huge reason. Freedom, right? Freedom from government control. Freedom from the way that they're trying to turn everything on us, like the big agenda, like we just want to be free from that. And the only way we can is if we unite. I keep saying that, unite, because it's so important that we as the people in Canada, we as people around the world, we all need to unite. We all need to start getting informed properly. And like I said, unplug yourself from the system. Unplug yourself from all the distractions, the division, and just try not to focus so much on the small things, focus more on the big things, the people, like your families, your loved ones, focus more on them. Don't try and have arguments, like a lot of people just like to argue for whatever. Just try having conversations. If you're the one trying to have the conversation, the other person just wants to argue, there's no point in even continuing that. Just move on. Go have a conversation with someone else. I mean, life's too short to constantly argue every day about important things. If someone's not awake, they're not awake, and you can't wake them up by yourself. You can give them as much information as you want, but if they have a closed mind and they really don't want to hear what you're saying, they're not going to accept it. They're not going to try and do some research on their own and figure things out. They go, oh, this guy's so full of whatever. I'm not going to listen to this guy. And then that's it. Then they just go on with their regular lives. And then when something big happens, they're wondering what the heck is happening. Oh, is that what that guy was talking about? Oh, I should have listened more. Like maybe I should have done some research. Then I'll know what's really going on. It's such a scary time because people are at their lowest points ever in life, with COVID and the restrictions and the mandates and everything. They've really pushed everyone down, and I've never seen so many depressed people, and I've never heard of so many suicides and overdoses during this time. That's something that we don't talk about. There's always the numbers of COVID related numbers, but it was never about our mental health, right? And I think a lot of people out there, their mental health was pretty low to begin with, like previous to that. This really pushed them down, and then Trudeau, when did he do that? He made it even easier. He passed a law to make it even easier for assisted suicide. I think it was in 2021. So to do it, to push in a bill that would make it easier to commit suicide, assisted suicide, when we're at our lowest point ever. That was pretty weird when he came up with that. Like, I understand there's nothing wrong with, like if you're in such pain and you don't want to continue and you want to go with assisted suicide. I'm not saying that that's a terrible thing to do. If you need to end your life because you can't continue, okay. But to do it at a time when everyone's at their lowest and people can just give up that easy, I just thought, how sick is that? To put, instead of trying to help the people, and like I said, trying to lift the people up and trying to, have better thoughts in their heads, inform them better, so we're all a little more relaxed in what's going on instead of we're hearing so much crap out there. And what do we believe? What's true? What's not true? so confusing there. And that's okay by them because they want us to be confused, right? They want us to be scared. They want us to be angry. They want us to hate each other. So they've done really well to this point on their agenda. You know? They're geniuses. To me, evil geniuses because they're not focusing on helping the people. You know, it's kind of how to hurt the people. And if the people are all hurting, the people are at the lowest point, it's easy to bring in something new called the Great Reset. Because people will be at their lowest points and say, I need something. Well, okay, Trudeau's saying this is great, this Great Reset. Okay, let's go for it. But again, if you do your research, you have no idea what you're walking into. And if people start looking at the Great Reset and what it's all about, it's right there on the World Economic Forum website. Anyone can go and look at it. It's just, you go and talk to an average person and they really don't know much about it. You know, they've heard of it, but they never really researched it. And again, it comes down to distractions. It comes down to lack of research. It comes down to division and just how busy we are. So, anyways, I've been going on a long time. Is there any questions that you wanted to ask? Sorry about that.
No problem, man. This is all about freedom. You got to give everyone their voice. You know, if they want to vent or whatever, then here's a time to do it. But I want to ask you, because I really am curious, what is the thing that you miss most about the convoy?
The people, the smiling faces, the feeling that we had. Because you can't describe it, you know. You can try to describe it. Wow, it was such a great feeling, and it was uplifting just seeing all the people, same mind frame and everything. But just walking around, I just kept taking my phone out from time to time, just videotaping, like everyone out there, and the smiling faces and people in great moods and high fiving and how proud they were of being Canadian with their flags, and I didn't just see Canada flags, I saw Quebec flags, and the unity between French and the English. You know, there was a lot of French people there because there were Gatineau and Quebec's right there, so a lot of French were there, and it was awesome. I grew up in Quebec, but in West Island of Montreal, so it was mostly English. And, you know, I grew up around people of all skin colors, you know, all religions, and all ways of life. You know, like your friends, you walk into different people's houses, your friends' houses, especially around dinner time, and all the different smells, right? So all the different types of cultures they had and all the different types of foods, and so many differences, but we all were friends. We all had one thing in common. We all spoke English, right? So it was like the English versus the French back then when I was growing up. So that was the major division, was English versus French where I grew up. It wasn't so much the skin color or anything like that, or how rich you were, how poor you were. It was the French hated us, we hated the French. But then living in Quebec, you learn French, right? So then by the time you're a teenager, you can communicate in French, and then you start having friends that are French, and then you start realizing, okay, they're just like me, they just speak a different language. Okay, they might be fighting pretty hard for their province, for their language, for their culture, but I get it, because if you don't fight for something, you're going to lose it. It's just like freedom. If we're not out there fighting for our freedom, we're going to lose it, right? So I got it as a teenager of why there was such a division between French and English in Canada. You know, it's a lot of it is political, but you know, as people, as Canadians, French, English, there wasn't much difference between us. You know, like I have many French friends, I have many English friends. You know, I've got friends of everything, so I don't have one type of friend. And, you know, like we just don't talk about one thing. I talk about everything with everyone because I love people. I love the communication that we have, and I love learning things. You know, I never stop learning. As an adult, I think we just get to an age where we're just like, okay, well, I've learned everything in school, and I've learned everything I need to know for my job, and then that's pretty much it. People don't really want to learn too much more about other people, about other cultures, about other, you know, learning another language. You know, like a lot of people give up on stuff like that when they're done school. getting back to the convoy, that's something I saw huge, like French, English embracing each other, holding a Canadian flag and a Quebec flag together, unity. That's what I missed out of that. I still get that because I have a lot of friends and we're all very united and not all of us think the same way, but a lot of my friends are what I consider awake, what's really happening out there. And some people that are awake don't even like to talk about it, like I have some friends, they're aware of what's going on, but they don't really, it's depressing to them, what's happening. So they don't want to hear it, they got things going on in their lives and they don't want to hear about, oh my God, we're going to lose our country, we're going to shift over to a state in the world. Like, they don't want to hear about all that. To them, it's scary, and because they haven't fully researched everything, they're just hearing everything from the mainstream media, and if that's all you do is just listen to the mainstream media, yeah, you are going to be scared, and I'm not calling them, any type of name whatsoever. I'm just saying they're too conditioned to think that you can get your information elsewhere. You don't need to go to the mainstream media for your important information because you'll never get it. Especially now, they're too involved with this agenda to allow you to know the truth. So whenever you start hearing them talk about things and it interests you, do your research. Don't stop either. Like a lot of people, when they ask me, well, how do you do research? What do you mean, how do I do my research? Start basic, right? And then go into it. Don't start going down rabbit holes and start typing in conspiracy theory, Great Reset. Now, like, you're going to get conspiracy theories if that's what you're focused on. Just read what the Great Reset's all about first. And then if you want to hear about conspiracy theories later on, okay, then do some extra research on that. But, the information is there. That's what I'm trying to tell everyone. The information, all those dates I told you, they're out there for people to know. It's just a lot of people went over their heads or they just were too busy to pay attention. Some didn't even hear about, Agenda 21. Like even today, what agenda? What is that? Even Great Reset, even though our prime minister has talked about it, Christian Freeland's talked about it, a lot of world leaders have talked about it, it's still a mystery to some people. Wow, I never heard about that. It's like, do your research. As soon as you hear something that you're not familiar with, check it out. If the media is talking about it, it's got to be something, right? So check it out. And then a lot of things you'll find isn't that important. So focus on the important stuff, how it's going to affect all of us, right? I think the thing with division is they try and keep people divided. So this group will only focus on this stuff, and this group will only focus on this, and we're not getting together and focusing on the major things that are actually affecting us all. We're just focusing on small things, and the small things are the ones that are always divided. So if we could just focus on the big picture, we all get the same information. We're all going to be on the same page. That's how you unite as a population. Right? It's, how can you be against someone if you're all thinking the same way? And I think that's what the CBC was kind of started off. Their main focus is to get a whole country the same information. But the information they've been given us is not important. It's, you take a look at it, and from time to time I'll turn on CBC or CTV just to see, like, oh my God, they haven't changed. They're still the same. They're still the same. They're focusing on these little things. I mean, their international news isn't okay. Take a look at. I don't want to really talk about the Ukraine-Russia conflict, especially now because there's so much emotions out there right now. You're not. People are thinking with their hearts and not with their minds and trying to figure everything out, right? And it's been going on a while, the conflict between them. So it didn't just start, a couple weeks ago. But the focus is there now. And if we all had the same information, then we would start just supporting the people, support the Ukrainian people, support the Russian people. Try and figure out what the governments are doing, and you'll always see that the people are always the victims when it comes to wars. I feel bad for the Russian people because they're being hated right now because of their president, you know, and the Ukrainian government is being propped up. But do we know enough about the Ukrainian government? You know, like we know that politically, the Ukraine is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. But a lot of people don't realize that because they haven't done the research. They don't know, you know, what's really happening inside Ukraine. I know tons of Ukrainian people, and they're awesome people. They're great people. They're so nice. I love them. It's they don't really know what's really going on in their own country, you know, and especially the ones that are living here in Canada. They're getting some information from back home, but they're not getting the full explanation about what is really happening, you know, what the fight's really about. So we just need to keep doing our research, especially when things are confusing. You know, don't get scared. Don't turn on your TV and try and get the information from the media. You know, just try and do it yourself. Yeah, it's going to take a little longer. It's not going to be like watching a 1-hour news show. You're only going to get maybe 3-4 minutes of important news on an hour news show. But if you focus and do your own research, man, you can in 1 hour you can have so much information. You know, as long as you keep doing your research. You're not just doing a little bit of research until it comes to your way of thinking. And say, oh yeah, okay, I agree with that. Okay, that's enough research. You know, and it might not even be that at all. You know, it's just because that's the way that you were thinking before. That's what you found on the internet. So people just stop doing research because that goes with their way of thinking. And even if it comes to something totally opposite of their way of thinking, keep doing research, learn about that. Okay, well, that's not the way I thought it was at all. Okay, let me do some more research. And we're the only ones that are going to inform ourselves. We can't rely on school anymore. You can't rely on your boss to teach things about what's going on in the world. You can't rely on the mainstream media. So it's up to us and to help each other out. You know, stop dividing each other and stop listening to these distractions. You know, that aren't important. As soon as you start seeing these major distractions by the media, then you know something else is going on. Why are they distracting us? Why aren't they focusing on it? Why did they stop talking about the conflict, you know, on the mainstream media? Why was it just about not the flags and everything? Why did they only focus on that? Because they didn't want the truth to come out. And I keep saying, thank God for red prints and for people like you to get out there and to show it. Like a lot of people have their phone, you know, their cameras going and videotaping, but I think most of them were just showing their friends. Like, it's not what you think. This is it. But you actually went and put it out there for anyone to see. I mean, I saw some of your videos and there was the live feed. You could read what people were writing. And some of these people were from the States. Some of them were from South Africa. Some were from Australia. Some from all over the world.
Crazy.
So that's the truth. You got the truth out there, and we just need more of you guys to do that. You know, like not everyone that does it is good at it, and you're great at it. So I hope that you will continue doing that, you know, for a very long time because you've got what it takes. You're very easy to talk to. We've had several conversations between the first time we met and now, and I loved every conversation we've had. And it wasn't just about politics. I know we talked about everything, right? Girls and relationships. And, you know, even at the convoy, there was a time where you didn't have your camera there. And we just talked about whatever. Everything was just
absolutely.
You're a good guy. You're easy to talk to. And I love just having conversations like that where you don't have to just focus on one thing. And because that's the thing that we have in common. Oh, man, you're a good guy. You can basically talk to anyone. You know, you're that type of guy. And you're young. So bonus, you know, I think you're 23, you said you were, and
good memory. I'm surprised you remember that.
You got a bright future ahead of you, Chris. You just keep doing what you're doing. Don't be afraid, and don't be disappointed about, you know, haters and trolls or whatever you want to call them. You know, just there's you don't know what's going on with those people, right? There could be something very bad going on in their life that affects them, of who they are, you know, like they're not happy, so why do they want you to be happy, right? And maybe something very bad has happened to problem in the past that they never got over with. Maybe something very bad is going on right now, like a broken marriage or they lost a job or whatever. There's always something going on with people and we just need to always keep that in mind. Like, just because someone's being a troll or a hater or whatever, hey man, it's usually because something is going on in their life that they're having trouble getting through or getting over. So
Yeah.
I don't look at haters as bad people, just as those protesters that were going up against us in Ottawa. I don't hate those people. Like, they have a right to voice their opinion. And even though it seemed like they kind of hated us and what we were doing and everything, and a lot of those people, they were our families. They're friends, they're our neighbors, our coworkers. So I don't think they're mean people. I don't think they're hateful people. I think they have probably really big hearts, and they just think that if we could just comply and do what the government's telling us, then we can all just get back to normal lives, right? And COVID will be over if we all just wore masks and we all just social distance and we all just got the vaccine. Then everything will be done with. Then we'll all go back to normal. We could all hug our grandparents and our parents and be with them. And you wouldn't have to see kids wearing masks anymore. And like everything, And that's mostly what I think those people are doing. They just wanted to go back to normal, and they feel that because we're not doing what we're told to do, that we're the bad people, and there you go with the division again, right? The anti-vaxxers, there's vaxxers, anti-maskers. They'll use everything, right? And I said, just do your research, whether it's COVID, whether it's politics, doesn't matter what it is. Continue to do research, like reinvent yourself as a free thinker, like even if you didn't really think outside the box before, maybe now is the time to start thinking outside the box. Like you don't have anyone coaching you and teaching you how to do this. You have to do it on your own. It's not going to be easy, but looking at something in a totally different way is going to open your eyes and start making you think differently. And then all of a sudden you start linking up with other things and maybe going down a few rabbit holes, and then your eyes are really open, and then it's too late, and then there's no going back after that. Once you're awake and you start realizing things, then you want to learn more. You want to do more research. Oh my God, then something else gets your interest, and you want, oh my God, there's so many important things out there that people need to research that they're not, they like I said, for many reasons, but that's what we need to start focusing on, because I keep talking about unity. We're going to unite once we all start getting on the same page, once we all start overcoming our fears of stuff and just doing something different, getting outside of our comfort zone, just instead of watching the same programs all the time, turn off the TV, open up a book, go on the internet and start researching things, not conspiracy things, but just facts, try and find as many facts as you can about important information, and your life will change. You'll see the stress leave you from not watching the mainstream media. You'll feel like you can have more conversations with people because you're more informed about things rather than just, being defensive about what this person's talking about and not and really knowing, because your head's just filled with crap that this mainstream media has been putting in, fear and like I said, they love when people are afraid, because it makes them turn back on the news and try and follow. Okay, I'm scared about what's going to happen next, so I need to follow the news. I need to follow the news. No, you don't. You don't need to follow the news. There's plenty of information out there. You can do it in other ways. Like I said, the smaller guy, like you wanted to know the truth about the convoy, turn on Red Prince, watch some of his videos about what was really going on there, and I hope that you will continue, like I said, for a long time about getting the truth out there. I mean, it's hard to just have a show, a YouTube channel or whatever, and you're just focusing on political stuff, because not everyone's going to be interested. You have to have some entertainment, which is great, and you'd be good at anything. So I'm not just saying like focus just on politics and the serious stuff. but do some, you know, entertainment stuff too. And I've seen some of your storytelling on some of your videos. You're a great storyteller, so tell more stories. Maybe get some information about some of these truckers. You know, sit down. You know, maybe find a way to contact them. Get some stories about you know, all sorts about how everything started, how they heard about it, how they prepared to get there. You know, what were they thinking? Do I need this? Do I need this? Do I need this? How long are we going to be there for? You know, how much food should I bring? How much blankets and clothing and socks, and should I, you know, like everything. I would love to know because there's all the discussions I had with the truckers. It was mostly on like what's happening with the politics and everything, but I didn't stop and actually talk to them. So like, what was going through your mind, and how did you hear about it at the beginning? How were you contacted, or did you contact the organizers and say, I want to be part of this, or like, and how were your emotions on the way there, on the drive there? Were you kind of a little scared, like, I don't know if I'm going to get arrested, I don't know how long this is going to go for, a couple of days, you know? It's like, you know, try and sit and talk to these guys and or interview them like you're doing right now. Like, it would be so interesting to see all the different types of stories. And I know I mentioned to Dennis Plett. He was one of the truckers there. Super nice guy. I had a short conversation with him, but super nice guy. Anyway, he was from Manitoba. He went back home after everything was over and passed away. And it was almost like this was his last hurrah, you know, to try and make a change before he left the world, you know.
Yeah.
So if you could maybe do a little story on him or some of these other truckers that were there, and it would be really interesting to hear all these different stories and all these different emotions that these truckers went throughout the 3 weeks. You know, it's not, some of those days they were on their highest levels ever, and then others were kind of scary. You know, like the last week, they weren't sure what was going on. There was talk about Children's Aid was going to come with the police, and they were going to go from truck to truck and pull the kids out, but the organizers of this had everything ready. You know, there was people that lived in Ottawa that opened their homes for these kids and the mothers to go and stay with, because they were worried that they were going to get pulled out of there. And there was nothing wrong. The kids were happy. They weren't being abused. They weren't, you know, like freezing in cold weather. Truckers are always prepared for long journeys, you know, like in their regular job, they're prepared. They have these houses right in the back of their driver's seats, you know, like and they have a bedroom in the back. So the city didn't make it very easy for them to be there, with lack of washrooms, with lack of places to eat, and that's why you saw them bringing in their own porta potties and their own little tents that they set up serving food, and the city never came in and shoveled or cleared snow, and it was kind of dangerous for that many people to be walking throughout the streets. So the truckers went and they had brought shovels and they started shoveling, and it was just an awesome community, and it was such a great sight to see the togetherness, you know, everyone working with each other, and it wasn't like and all the different faces. Like, you didn't just see white guys, you know, like they were trying to portray it. You saw black, you saw white, you saw women, you saw men, you saw children. There was everyone, you know, like all different religions, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs. There was everyone, you know, like everyone. Wherever you looked, you saw different faces, smiling faces. That was the one thing that everyone had in common, you know, eye contact and smiling faces, but all different types of faces. It was awesome. I missed that too, you know. Just we were always like, the first day that we were on the way there, we weren't scared, but we were just like, we don't know what we're walking into.
Right.
But once you're there, once you have that experience, once you, oh my God, it's not what I thought at all. Like, and I really didn't think much about what it was going to be like. I just kind of left my mind blank and said, okay, let's just go and see, you know. And once we saw it, it was like, you can't wait to go back the next day and the next day and the next day. And finally, the last week, it was just like, I hope this continues. I hope it continues because we really need, it's a big, strong message that we need everyone to jump on board with, you know, to wake everyone else up that's not awake yet. And so I wanted it to continue. And I wanted, for those that weren't able to make it, I wanted them to come down and get a chance to see what the truth was, you know, and that feeling that every one of us had being there, because it's too hard to explain. You know what I'm saying? It's too hard to sit down and tell someone what it was all about. You know, there's a feeling that you had being there that was like no other feeling that I've had in decades. Like I said, since I was a kid, that community feeling where I live, it kind of felt like that, but like so much better because we were all adults, and it was like I was a kid again, you know, and hanging out with all my friends. But these are all new friends that I just met, you know, and I saw some faces, you know, because I was there every day. I saw some of the same faces, but it wasn't a typical protest where you see the same 100 people, same 200 people. There was new people constantly coming every day. And the more people I met, the more I realized, man, I just met this guy from Newfoundland one day, and he says, I just got here, and I'm leaving in 2 days. I'm just here for like a full day, and I just wanted the experience, and I just wanted to go meet the truckers, and I wanted to thank them. You know, I've been watching the streamers and getting the truth, and I wasn't afraid to come here because I saw the truth. So I got down here with my wife, and we just wanted to be part of it. And then other people from Alberta were just here for 2 days. Like, people were just there for a day or two, you know, from outside of Ottawa, from outside of Ontario, and just wanted to be a part of it because they knew how big this was. Like, and next, getting to the people that live downtown. Okay, like, I do feel for them, for all the noise and everything they put up. However, a lot of people that I met down there that were from Ottawa, that lived downtown, okay, that were right on Wellington with us. And I said, wow, you live right on? He says, I live 2 blocks down there, and I work for the government. And I never missed a paycheck throughout this whole COVID. So I don't feel like I could complain because I know plenty of Canadians right across the country and around the world that lost their jobs, you know, and they didn't get paychecks because they were deemed non-essential, right? First of all, everyone's job is essential. If you're putting food on the table and you're paying the bills, it's essential, right? So for the government to go and call people non-essential and make them stay at home, it's crazy. But
yeah,
because we're informed, we understand why they did what they did. So this guy was telling me, I just lived down the road. I said, does the horn honking, does it bother you? Because in the first week and a half, there was lots of horn honking. I mean, it quieted down. They did less of it, you know, after the mayor of Ottawa, you know, told them, you know, you got to stop, and they moved some of the trucks, you know, out of the side streets that were closer to residential areas. But when this guy told me that the horns honking were music to his ears, I was like, wow, okay, that's a way of looking at it too, because he was aware of what was happening, right? I think a lot of the people that complained about the constant noise, they don't really fully aware of why we were there. I think to them it was just about the vaccine, or just about, you know, social distance, or the mandates, or the passport.
right.
I don't think they saw the whole big picture about how our country is slipping from being a country into a state in the New World Order, and how quickly it's going to happen, because we're supposed to be the first to do it, and it's supposed to be done this year, 2020. So I don't think they got the full idea of why we're there, and I think that's why they had the anger, right?
Yeah.
And, just get out of our city, you know, like. And this is the capital of Canada, where if you're going to have a big protest, a loud protest, it's going to be in downtown Ottawa, right? It's going to be a federal thing, a country thing. It's going to be in the capital of your country, Ottawa. So they had to expect protests happen. And in the summertime, they have music festival, and you can hear the music, the bass to the music and everything throughout downtown during these festivals. And usually they last a week and a half and everything. And you do have some complaints about that. But think about this. If the people that complained about the truckers and the noise and everything, instead of it being a protest with truckers, let's say it was a music festival and the music festival was playing all those persons' favorite bands and music. Okay, their favorite songs were playing for 3 weeks, and it was loud. I don't think a lot of those people would actually complain as much as they would, because it's music to their ears, right? So if it's something that you can get behind, something that you agree with, you're not going to have very much of a problem with the added noise and everything, right? So I think that's had a lot to do with it, was the people that were complaining were against what they thought we were protesting with. So if we were all on the same page, if we were all aware of what it was all about, I think it would have lasted longer, because the public wouldn't have been complaining as much, and the media and the governments would have had no choice but to allow it to last a little longer, because there were so much complaint, and I think the media and the government jumped on every complaint against us and made it bigger and bigger and bigger. Like I said, the Nazi flag, that lasted for the whole time. From the day that guy brought the flag and it was only a one-day thing that he was there, a couple of hours, but it lasted right till the very end when they were discussing it in Parliament. They discussed it on the rules, and they just dragged us down as much as they could. So they did their job, the media and the government, trying to get rid of us. But again, if it was something that was their way of thinking, like Trudeau, if he was for this protest, like he was for the other protest, he would have been down there, or he would have sat down with the truckers and tried to come up with a compromise or solution to this whole thing. But it was against their agenda. So the pressure was on him, the pressure was on the media to squash this thing, to make sure the truth isn't coming out. And they did a great job on doing that. So we did a great job. The truckers did a great job on bringing the truth out there. And you guys, Red Prince and the rest of the streamers that were there, did a great job on getting the truth out there that the media and the government wasn't doing. So kudos to you guys. Thanks again for being there. Really appreciate it. I know the truckers loved you guys, because the majority of you guys were there for the right reason, right? And you weren't even a streamer really before. Hey, you did a few videos and everything, but you never did anything like that before. So that was so awesome that you didn't just come down just to film it for yourself or show a couple of friends, that you actually were there showing it to the world, and still not knowing, like when it's going to end or anything, but you were there showing it to everyone, the real truth, especially after seeing the negativity stuff, I guess, the people, the governments and the media and everything. You guys saw what they were doing, so you wanted the truth to come out, and you showed up. And awesome. So thanks again, Chris, for that. I know so many people that appreciated what you guys did, and I hope that a lot of you streamers will actually kind of get together and maybe come up with some sort of a common theme where you can all get together and maybe do some interviews on truckers and kind of put them all together as almost like your own little media,
Right.
Don't be divided, amongst other streamers, kind of unite the streamers, and that way you almost be your own small corporation, of how to, but a good corporation, like I find a lot of these big corporations that they're trying to take over the world, and they're not good for us, the people. What you guys can do would be great for us, the people, getting the truth out there, and information that maybe people aren't aware of, that's not being discussed on mainstream medias and everything. Like, you guys can kind of come up with a subject and kind of let everyone know, oh my God, wow, I didn't know that. So let's do some research on that. Let's see what Red Prince was talking about there. And our own research, and then all our eyes will be open, and we'll all be united. You know? I keep saying that united. It's so important that we all unite as people. You know, like it's the only way we're going to win this. It's the only way we're going to get past COVID and past this great reset. Hopefully that we can get the truth out there. You know, they don't want to tell us the truth because they really believe that we're not going to be happy about what we're going to hear about the great reset. So thanks for allowing me to speak about all this stuff and for approaching me that day during the convoy.
Absolutely.
Came walking up to me and said, "Hey, some of my viewers wanted to hear from the guy with the hockey stick and the flag on the hockey stick."
That's right. I'm surprised you remember that.
Yeah. Well, that's how I met you, right? You just kind of came out of the blue. I was talking to this guy Jean-Luc that I met from Quebec, and he was standing beside me during that interview, but he spoke no English. So that's why no one saw him answer any questions. So he he's a shy guy and he kind of flipped off to the side there. But that was another thing about French English. Being there, I spoke so much French. You know, my French was coming back. Maybe the first 2-3 days I was there, I was trying to translate stuff in my head again. You know, it's been a while since I had communications in French. But after the first few days, I was going around talking to French people, like. And I always say, "Excuse-moi pour mon français," and they were like, "No, it's all good. You know, we totally understand what you're saying." So, you know, as long as we can kind of get our points across, it might not be perfect communication, especially people that speak different languages. And never ever make fun of people with an accent. It just means that they can speak a different language, right? So it's kudos to them. They can speak more than one language, you know. So not everyone can do that. So great that someone comes up to you and with broken English, if they want to have a conversation, like, yeah, that's awesome that people are willing to learn a new language and try hard to communicate with people. So yeah, man, it's I miss it for sure. I miss being there. I miss the people there. I'm glad I kept in contact with a lot of people, including yourself. And there was a lot of people there that I didn't keep in contact with because I didn't think it was going to end so soon, and I should have got a lot of more people's numbers or contact information and continue it. But I'm glad that you're still discussing this. Here we are in March, and we're still talking about what's going on.
Yeah.
And for all your viewers, just keep watching about what's going on. Watch the convoys, especially in the States. You see them going, you know, there's crazy convoys going on in the States. They're still going on here in Canada, right across the country.
Exactly.
So everyone should still focus on that. And just help them get the message out there. You know, even if you have to play someone else's videos of that from other streamers that might be there, you know, just maybe short clips or something, and keeping the truth out there. You know, and you see a lot of these American convoys going down the highways, and they've got Canadian flags. You know, American and Canadian, because we made such a difference. You know,
right.
All eyes were on Ottawa. All eyes were on Canada for those 3+ weeks in Ottawa, and everyone respects us because of what we did, you know. And the ones that don't, okay, well, maybe they're not just aware of what we were really there for, you know, and they don't get the whole picture, you know, of what it was all about. So, and even if they do, and they still don't want us to talk about it, that's fine, you know. We're not gonna wake everyone up, so it's too hard to wake everyone up. So the ones that are awake, they're not going back to sleep, so that's great. And like I said, our side's just going to get bigger and bigger because of that. Once you're awake, you're not going back to sleep. So the more people that wake up and realize what's really happening out there and the way this world is going to change, if we don't do anything about it, maybe they will kind of get involved and show up at convoys and stuff like that. And just being informed is good enough, you know, like if you got the right information and it's the truth and they're facts, you have nothing to be afraid of. The knowledge is power, right? So the more power that we have as people, the people have the power. The more power that we have, the more the easier it is for us to win this, you know. And it's gotta go back to the way it's supposed to be, where the government that's on top right now is going to go down to the bottom, and the people are going to go to the top. Right now it's the people down here and the government and the super rich are up here, and they're telling us what to do, but it's us up are supposed to be up here and them down here, and their only job down here is to manage our money. That's it. That's their only job. They work for us. So they manage our money, make sure we have good roads and good healthcare and good education, and that's the way life's supposed to be. And whether it's capitalism or in a democracy, or whether it's communism, it's always supposed to be about the people. For some reason, it's got switched up, and these dictators are taking over. And look at our own prime minister. Do you really consider him a democratic leader? This guy he's a dictator, and he even said he admires the basic dictatorship of China, how they can start and stop an economy on a dime. Those are his words. He admires the basic dictatorship of China. That goes to show you what kind of leader he is, and what has he done to unite us? He's done nothing to unite us. He can speak his little tiny words all he wants, but it's not working. It's a lot of people are aware of what he's really doing, and he's not united. He's divided. Every name he calls people, he's divided. Every time he pushes down or just listen to the government, and people are getting a little fed up with our government. They think there's too much control, and you heard that a lot even in the convoys with the women. The women were so impressive. I don't know how many women you talk to when you're walking through the streets, but man, these are strong women. These women were like so vocal about, was so informed, so vocal, so proud of being there. They loved what the truckers were doing. They loved the whole message. They're very caring people. They were mama bears. They were protecting their children. They were getting scared about what the government were planning on continually doing to their children. And a lot of them were talking about just the government control that they have over families nowadays, where it's the government almost wants to have control of your kids at a very young age. Whether it's free daycare, or affordable daycare. It's like they want, don't worry, you guys go to work. Let mommy, daddy go to work and give us your kids, and we'll take care of your kids, and we'll raise your kids, and we'll feed your kids. And half day kindergarten? No, we'll take them full day kindergarten, right? So they're constantly, by the time the kid is like a teenager, they probably spent more time with the government, schooling and daycares and government programs than they actually have with their own parents. So it's the people are starting to see how much control the government is trying to take over a democratic country, over the people of a democratic country, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it's been changing, and we're seeing it faster and faster. And thank God that people are noticing it, because more and more people are waking up to it, and we'll see if we can put a stop to it. But it's only if we unite. I keep saying that, unite, but the people need to learn that we need to stop with division, and just start forgetting about small things. And, we're all human beings, right? We're all supposed to be loving each other. Doesn't matter how different we are, how much we look different, or we talk different, or eat different foods, or whatever. We're all human beings, and we just need to start focusing on the people, and rather than focusing on governments that are controlling the people, and dividing the people, and distracting the people. And the other big wigs, like the media and corporations and big tech and big pharma, all these big, right? It's the only big thing out there are the people. And we need to start acting like we're in charge, because we are. And we need to start standing up for ourselves and for other people. Not everyone's as strong as everyone else, so that's why we need to look out for each other. And again, that's what I felt, and that's what I saw during that convoy in Ottawa. It's just people looking out for people, taking care of each other. Everything good now? You warm? You need to come in here? There's a couple of trucks. The guy was like, "Hey man, you've been out there a long time. Why don't you come in here and keep warm?" Hey, thanks, bro. Went down, had a cool conversation. conversations with these guys. There's right in front of the stage, there was a silver Charger car that was there.
I remember that.
Jared, he was awesome. And I was sitting in his car quite a few times, chatting with him, and people would come up to his window. Hey man, just start talking. And Candace, the Mohawk woman that got trampled on by the horse with the walker.
Oh yeah.
She came up to the window and started talking to us. Such an awesome woman. So friendly, so full of love. And her favorite line, I swear, was "Hold the line, hold the line." She kept saying that every time I saw her. Hold the line. She was awesome. And she stayed in her car down Metcalf, inside the Circle K store that was down the road.
Oh my
I
gosh.
saw her quite a bit, and she was always in a positive mood. It broke my heart when I saw what happened to her. I'm glad she's okay, that dislocated shoulder or whatever, but just that smile, and that's what so much of us had, was just smiles, because we all felt good about being there. We weren't like, are we doing the right thing? And we weren't too sure. No, we were all people that were there were sure of what we were doing, and it was the right thing, and the message needed to be brought out, especially now, since there's such a push on against us and for this agenda. So yeah, I do miss it. I miss it, and I miss running into you on a regular basis there. After I met you, I was like, you were easy to spot after I first met you. Hey, there, and I didn't even know. I just knew you as Chris, actually, after the interview, because I never asked, like, hey, buddy, is this YouTube or what is that?
Right, exactly. I'm so glad that we were able to connect, though, after that, like the whole thing. And actually, YouTube is a big reason for a lot of the connections that I made afterwards, because, I just didn't think to get anyone's number up leading up to when the police came, and I didn't expect that they were going to come so early. And so not getting anybody's number, I kind of felt bad, because I wish that I would have took the time to, okay, hey man, what's your number? But instead of, oh, I'm sure I'll see you again, I'll get it next time, that was always the thing. But anyways, I don't want to take up too much of your time, Justin. So what would you say as a closing statement to all the viewers here that are interested in maybe seeing some more of you, or, what would be like a moral of the story message for the convoy and this whole moment?
Don't stop. Don't stop doing your research. Don't stop looking for the truth. Don't stop looking for facts and important information. Cut out all the little stuff in your life, things that aren't important. Focus on what's really important. Focus on the people in your life, people that you love, the people that you don't even know. There's so many people that need help out there. And sometimes it's just a smile. Don't you got to get out of your comfort zone too to do stuff like that. A lot of people, they live for a very long time. Sometimes some people just a couple of years, but being to themselves. But a lot of people, even before COVID started, they're too secluded from everyone and just in their own little world, and we need to start focusing on the important stuff, how things are going to change in this world. And we need to get informed about what's going to be happening. If you're concerned about your kids and your future, then get informed about the Great Reset. Get informed about Agenda 21. Get informed about the New World Order, or whatever they want to call it. Get informed about what's really going to happen. And the information is out there. It's just up to us people to do it and help each other. Don't go arguing with each other. Inform each other about what's really happening. If someone doesn't know, don't talk down to them, and don't try and you're schooling them or whatever. Have conversations with them. Allow them to ask questions. If they're asking questions about stuff like this, it means they're interested, right? Unless they're just there trying to, be a hater and ask these ridiculous questions just to kind of put you down and kind of shut you up. Move along, man. Go to the next person. There's so many people that want to know what's happening, and it really is up to us, the people now. we can't rely on our governments and our media for this information. So you kind of have to look and do things differently, like research. It's something. It's sad because we should all just be allowed to just turn on the news and get the important information, so we don't have to do it ourselves. But it's far from that nowadays. So don't stop. That's the main message. Don't stop with the convoys. Don't stop with just the unity, with loving each other. Just keep going, and hopefully one day we're all going to be on the same page, and we're all going to feel what we felt during the convoy. You and I and everyone else that was there. A lot of people missed out on that. So, maybe one day we'll all get to enjoy that. And we're living just regular lives. We're not at a protest. We're not at a convoy. We're just in our neighborhoods living life. We're respecting each other, whether we're driving on the road or just holding the door open. And don't be too proud. Just accept what people, help from other people. That's what we're here for. I think that's why we're all put on this earth is to treat each other properly. And you're not going to get along with everyone. That's okay. There's always going to be people with differences, but just try and focus on the big picture, and forget all about the division. That they're really trying to put on us. It's not good for our mental health, and it's not good for the cause. It's just
right. Yeah.
Chris, I hope you just keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Seriously, I don't care how many haters you have or how many trolls on your site, but just keep doing what you're doing, and you're going to be awesome. You're already great at what you're doing. You're just going to get better. Okay.
I'm really hoping so, because YouTube's kind of my job now. So.
Good. Awesome. And connect with the other guys. Connect with the other streamers. Try and put something together that because no one can do it by themselves, right? As much as you want to get the truth out there and you want to help people and just make them feel better, whether it's an entertainment video or whatever, get together with all these other guys and try and get your own little system going where it's just factual information. It's for the people, right? You're not doing it for the money. You're not doing it to have commercials and to raise more money. You're doing it for the people. So just keep doing what you're doing, buddy, and we're all going to be successful. We're all eventually going to be happy.
Oh, for sure. And now that these mandates are going to be dropping soon enough, we can go out and finally have a beer or something.
Exactly. And once these mandates are done, don't stop, because that's not the end. That's not the end game. That's just, we're just trying to get back to normal. There's never going to be a normal from where we used to be. We're never going back there. Okay, from this point forward, we're not going backwards.
Well, a lot of people don't want to hear that, though. So.
Well, yeah, but it's either going to go both ways. It's either going to go the way the government wants it to go and their agendas and who's in charge of these agendas and Great Reset and everything, or it's going to go our way. And so the only way it's going to go our way and have a peaceful life and be united is if we stay united and we stay connected and we stay demanding the truth, right? And put the pressure on the governments, put the pressure on the medias, saying, why aren't you guys telling us the truth? If, like I said before, if the Great Reset is so great, why aren't they informing us on a daily basis and filling our head with what it's all going to be about?
Right.
So anyways, it was great talking with you, Chris. Hopefully we can do it again real soon. And you can call me my number now, so you can call me anytime you just want to chat or whatever. And hope that all your viewers there have a great day too.
For sure. And I'll for sure call you up, whenever. And also, I'm going to be in Queen's Park tomorrow in Toronto. So, hopefully interviewing some more people there. So if you want to tune into that, definitely do so, and we can talk there further. So if not, then, I'll give you a call. Just tell me when's a good time for you, and then we'll get going from there. I mean, I think this has been all about connections, and it'll be continue to, be all about connections. So, I definitely do not want to lose that. And I don't know, man. I just appreciate you coming on and ending the week with on a high note.
Yeah. This morning my car died. I'm at my brother's right now.
I know.
A block away. My car's sitting a block away. I think it's the alternator. It sucks, but hey, it's what can you do, right? It's,
exactly. What car do you drive? Just out of curiosity.
It's an old one. It's a 1993 Plymouth Voyager.
Holy!
I got it for $300, so it was because my Jeep died and I was still making payments on the Jeep, so I needed something cheap just to get me by, and this lasted a while, but yeah, eventually this morning it died. Turning a corner, it just lost power steering and everything, and shut down. So I managed to push it off to the side of the road, and it's still sitting there. I got to get back out there and.
Holy! So you missioned to be a part of this stream, eh?
I had to get over here before noon, and then I couldn't get set up with everything. I was like, "Oh, great, this isn't happening." Hopefully, it's just the alternator belt and not the actual alternator, so it'll be a little cheaper. But I didn't even pop the trunk or the hood and check yet, so I'll have to get back out there and see what's happening. But,
if it's still there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, don't say that. Well, yeah, I better get out there. But yeah, I'm so glad that we did get to do this. You know, I thought it was just going to be a telephone call when I couldn't get set up with the video. So.
Oh no, we figured something out. I stick my phone on the end of a pole, and there you go.
Exactly. Whatever works, eh? And I'm finally seeing you live without a toque on.
Oh, I know. Everyone was saying, "Oh my God, the top of the head reveal is crazy." Like, it's just the hat. Everyone saw it, but they could have seen the other videos, and then they would have seen me with that.
And I did exactly, but I'm saying live that talking to you. This is instead of talking to you with the. And I had a hat on too, and I still do. But we were dressed pretty warm. I mean, could you imagine that convoy if it was summertime? Spring,
totally different.
People and how long it would have lasted and spread out it would have been. It would have been crazy. I mean, it would have been really loud for the people downtown for sure.
Oh yeah, with the windows open. Oh.
So, yeah, but hopefully this isn't it. That it's going to continue and continue like we've seen around the world. They have convoys going. So let's hope that it just continues and the real information gets out there for the people.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm waiting for it, and I'm just taking it one day at a time, just just pumping out the content, whatever I think is relevant and whatever I think is interesting and entertaining, and and just taking it one step at a time. And I know you are too, so we're all in this together, right?
Exactly.
So
cheers, bro.
Man, I appreciate you. Thanks again for coming on. That was like such a godsend. I kind of felt bad this morning. What's that?
The Red Prince. This guy's awesome.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. I felt so bad with giving you the runaround this morning about the whole, technological thing and, getting set up or whatever, so.
For next time, hopefully I'll be more prepared.
Exactly, man. We'll see.
All right, bro. Cheers, and have a great weekend, man.
Absolutely, man. You too. I hope to hear from you soon.
You will for sure.
All right, bye, Justin.
See you, Chris. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. All righty. Just over 2 hours, guys. All right. Interesting call with the legendary Justin, not Trudeau. Wow, there's a lot of chats I missed here, but I will make a couple announcements tonight as far as what I'm going to be doing with the channel from here on out, because this concludes sort of all of the major interviews that I'm going to be doing. I might do 1 or 2 next week, but I think I have a pretty good idea what I want to do with the channel from here on out, but I'm going to make that announcement tonight. I'm going to make a little video about that, and I'm also going to make a post about Queen's Park tomorrow, whether or not I'm going to be... Justin just sent me a photo, of course. I'm going to be making a post tonight on YouTube, whether or not, I'm going to Queen's Park, when I'm going to be there, etc. And then also look out for that video about, just the announcement of where I'm going to be taking the channel. So plenty of things that are going to be going on. And I guess I'll talk to all of y'all soon. All right, guys, have a good one.